Pascal was a great mathematician and one of the founders of probability theory, actually. I think it's his lowest point, is what's called his wager, or sometimes his gambit, where he says, rather like a huckster, what have you got to lose? You win everything if you bet on God, and you've everything to lose if you're wrong. Well, what does this involve, if it's correct? It involves a very cynical God, and a rather stupid one, who will say, I noticed you make a profession of faith just there, and I also, because I'm God, I know why you did, because it was in the hope of winning favor with me. Well, that's fine. You'll therefore get it. That seems to me a rather contemptible thing, and necessarily, therefore, to entail a rather contemptible human being who says, I don't really believe this, I have no faith, but what can I lose by pretending to God that I do? I might get a break. I mean, this is pretty low, isn't it? If I'm surprised to find, when I pass on from this vale of tears, that I'm facing a tribunal, which you notice, by the way, you're not allowed to bring a lawyer. There's no jury. There's no appeal. I mean, this is altogether unattractive. Why people want it to be believed their God is this way, I don't know. But suppose that I'm there. It may be a one-person tribunal, depending on your view of the Trinity. I would say, I hope you noticed that I didn't try and curry favor, that I was honestly unable to believe in the claims made by your human spokespersons. Now do I get any understanding? And if that doesn't work, well, then I don't know what would. But I'm not going to try anything servile. I'm resolved on that point.
It would be more comforting, wouldn't it? And more comfortable.
Which the servile? No.
To make an accommodation, to have some belief in a possibility of this not being the end.
Well, as long as I don't have to take the word of other humans on what are the necessary propitiations and gestures and subjections I have to submit myself to in order to qualify. In other words, there are many, many discrepant religions, all of whom say only if I support them or endorse them will I qualify. Well, now, I don't know that there is no such thing as consciousness without the brain, for example, that there's no such survival. I very much doubt it. But let's say we don't know enough to say it's impossible. I would say what is impossible is that other humans can know what the conditions are whereby you qualify for survival. That I do know is false.
Hello, I'm the creator of the Agnostic Code. I think Christopher Hitchens makes such an excellent point in this interview. How can anyone claim to know the standards of a theoretical God? No one knows anything about this theoretical God. We don't know if there's a God, and we certainly couldn't know how a theoretical God would choose to save people. That is a complete question mark. So my argument is, because we cannot know how to gain approval of a theoretical God, let's just prepare for the worst case scenario. Let's assume the worst. Let's assume that we have to be extremely virtuous, like a perfectionist. Maybe a theoretical God might require extreme virtue of your character. And a lot of people say, well, maybe God's evil and it's going to reward us for being evil. That is a silly argument, because let's just say it's 50-50 that God rewards evil behavior or God rewards good behavior. It makes most sense to go with the option of the good God, because by doing evil, we're going to severely decrease our odds of living forever, because we're going to be punished by people, we're going to create enemies, we're going to get punished by the law, and we're going to hate ourselves, because you don't feel good about yourself if you do evil things. So it's going to work out best for you if you just assume that a theoretical God that we're trying to gain the approval of, a big question mark, we don't even know if there is a God, but if we're going to try to stack the odds in our favor to try to gain the approval of a theoretical God, let's just try to be like perfectionists. Let's just try to be the perfect person, extremely virtuous, altruistic. I don't think we can go wrong with that. It's going to increase our odds. And of course, we can't know that any religious or holy book is completely an assumption. We have no idea that they don't speak for God. We can't know that. You have all these religions acting like they're speaking for God, like they're the authority on what God wants. It's ridiculous. And then they have the audacity to say that unless you believe in our doctrine, unless you believe that we're the authority of on what God wants, you're going to go to hell. You're going to be damned by God. It's absurd. Who's to say that God even cares at all about what people believe? A theoretical God that may or may not exist might only care about a person's deeds, their actions, if they were a good person, if they loved people, if they showed compassion. That might be what God really cares about, if there was a God. So just imagine for yourself what a theoretical God might judge you on, and just go with that. That's my message. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, we don't know that there's any God to save us. We don't know that there's any afterlife. So you got to try to live forever with life extension technology. You got to try to live forever physically. This life might be the only one you get. Prepare for the worst. Better safe than sorry.